Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We have a bit of good news to bring to all of you today that I think is pretty important, and we're going to get into it here in this video, as well as everything that's currently going on with AMC stock. We're going to take a look at the option activity as well, and the week ahead, where money is positioning. So hit that like button as well as subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. So I actually want to start with the best. This really good news that I think it's flying under the surface for the most part. This article says AMC's bonds find buyers while original meme stock slides. And I mean, AMC is basically hitting a new multi-year low every single day. 2024 has not been good at all. Even if you look at the chart, I mean, you have been under 30 on the RSI since the start of 2024. You're down from $6 per share or so since the beginning of 2024. You've fallen over 20%, right? Around 25% just in the first, call it, month of the new year. Now, this article says, while AMC Entertainment Holdings shares have been hitting new lows over the last 2 weeks, the company's bonds have seen net buying activity, as the following chart from data solutions provider Bond Click Media Service shows. Quote, in the last 2 weeks, the AMC bond prices have really held their own while the stock is sold off, a market source told MarketWatch. It has been supported by better net buying over that period. It says the bond market in general has seen very good demand coming into the new year. The market source added, as buyers anticipate expected cuts in interest rates, people have been trying to lock in yields before the expected move lower in rates engineered by the Fed. Now, why is this interesting? Okay. And this chart, you can see the 2-week price performance of select AMC Entertainment bonds, and they've all been pretty much rising from the start of 2024 quite a bit. And I mean, this chart goes from January 18th, and you can see this blue bond, this line right here, the AMC 5.75% bond that comes due in looks like 2025 actually. So not too far out here. That's went from almost $72 to $80. The bond here in red, which is AMC 10% bond for 2026, comes due on June 15th. That bond has went from $76.55 to $79.68. Even the yellow bond here, the 7.5% yield for what is this? Looks like 2029, February 15th, 2029, that comes due, and that is when basically nowhere. It's kind of been stable. $66 currently. Well, it started the year at around $66. It's currently at $65. So that's been stable. So what is this really telling you? Well, if your longer term bond is holding up, your 2029 bond is holding up, that's a pretty good sign that AMC is expected to be in business by 2029, is essentially the long story short there. Now, people are not as confident about that as they are for 2025 and 2026. The fact that they are actually buying these bonds more means that people do not believe AMC is likely to go bankrupt or to fall on substantially harder times than we are seeing now. So people buying the bonds is actually great news, right? And here you can see the most active AMC Entertainment Holdings issues with net consumer flows over the past 10 days. This AMC 10% bond for 2026 and the AMC 7.5% bond for 2029 seeing a lot of inflows in particular, which, that's overall a good sign. You don't want to see people buying bonds. That means they're not confident Well, you don't want to see them selling bonds because that means they're not confident in the business. Buying bonds, quite the opposite. That can show a lot of confidence in AMC as a business. But the price of AMC stock has been falling. That's where this situation is interesting, because the price of the stock is likely falling because of shorting activity, because of fears of dilution. But the underlying business itself is not being shorted, if you will, or bet against the way the stock looks. Now, what's the ultimate conclusion to this? In my personal opinion, I think this proves Adam Aron completely dead wrong. People are not buying AMC. People are not selling AMC because, the bad box office that we're expecting in 2024. That's what he recently claimed on X, on Twitter. People are not buying AMC because they're fearful about more dilution. That's the problem, right? That's why AMC stock has been so subdued, especially in 2024. People know AMC has to raise capital. And, that's a pretty easy short to be in if you're a company that needs to raise capital. But again, I just want to reiterate, AMC raising capital at $4 per share literally does nothing. It really doesn't even move the needle for AMC. And if AMC does dilute shareholders again, that's going to be like self-destruction, right? You're at $4.01 per share, basically $4 flat per share. The stock's going to fall probably to $2 per share if AMC tried to dilute another, call it 40 million shares or so. But again, when AMC does ultimately give us a commitment to not diluting shareholders, I think AMC stock will start to perform very well quickly. I think seeing strength in the bond market in AMC bonds shows you people are actually confident about the business over the next couple of years. If you can get people confident about the stock in the near term, at least, that could cause quite an aggressive rally. So I think that is pretty good news. Some of the best news that we have gotten in a very long time. Now, take a look at the stock twits sentiment gauges over here on stock twits. You can see sentiment is extremely bearish at 22 one day ago. Now you're at neutral, so neither really bullish nor bearish. Message volume is extremely low. That is at 8. So not a lot of people talking about AMC right now, and the participation ratio is at 41. Keep in mind, it is a freaking Sunday, so not a lot of people are, interested in the markets here on a Sunday. So that doesn't surprise me all too much that message volume's low, participation ratio is on the low side. We'll see what happens when we start the new week. If we take a look at the Ortex data, you do have the short interest continuing to climb at least a little bit today to 11.13%, $113.2 million worth of short positions. Days to cover 1.5, 27.88 million shares that are currently sold short. 28 million shares that are currently out on loan. Cost to borrow 1.13%, utilization of 42%, and a short score of 61.11 out of 100. So again, not the most squeezy like data here, but it's a lot better than where it was. Short interest was just estimated at 7% not long ago. Now it's estimated at 11%. I'll take that any day. As far as last week in the option activity, it was pretty bullish with open interest to the call side of 74.01%, open interest to the put side of about 26%. Option activity over the past week from hedge funds and institutions, you had 19 orders totaling $1.48 million with a positive order value of 74%. For the week ahead to the call side, you have open interest of 60.19%. Volume to the call side on Friday, 68.44%. Now, open interest on the put side, about 40%. Volume on the put side was 31.56%. So, more neutral for this upcoming week, but we know a lot of people like to trade weekly options. So, we're going to see all of these numbers pretty much changing coming tomorrow. And if we take a look at this upcoming week, you do have about 2,500 calls currently in the money, 40,000 calls out the money, 8,400 puts in the money, and 20,000 puts that are out the money. So numbers that are not too crazy, but definitely more activity again to the call side, which has been pretty typical of AMC as of lately. Now, 10-year Treasury yields currently, they were up 16 basis points on Friday. Does that continue? I think it comes down to some of the earnings that we get, but more importantly, some of the data that we will get as well this week. And we'll go over that a little bit more in the next video. We do have the 10 and the 2-year yield curve that is inverted 33 basis points. You've actually inverted more over the past week or so. And that's usually a good thing as far as the potential recession outlook goes. I would rather have the yield curve stay inverted at this point than to uninvert. When it does start to rapidly uninvert, though, it is going to mean that the markets are expecting the Fed to start cutting pretty aggressively. As far as what markets are pricing in for Fed policy, we're currently pricing in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rate cuts. Now, problem is, if inflation does not continue to get better from here, you could see the Fed not cut rates at all in 2024, like 0 rate cuts. And if that were to happen, that would obviously be a problem for stocks right now, as much as people wouldn't want to admit it. Even some of your big tech names are trading on the fact that we're expecting 5 rate cuts. If that doesn't happen, boy, are we going to be in for quite a problem. So any of the inflation data that comes out that is not along the lines of plummeting is going to be seen as likely bad news. Now, the percentage of stocks above the 50-day moving average, that also collapsed on Friday. It was down 4.26%. So you went from about 57% or so of stocks above their 50-day moving average to 52.68% on Friday. When you had a lot of breath in our markets was around December, late December, when you had 86% of stocks above their 50-day moving average. Now, it's pretty much a coin toss. About half of stocks are above their 50-day moving average. And markets have been hitting newer highs basically every single day. You're pretty close to 5,000 on the SPY, or about 500 on or 5,000 on the SPX, the S&P 500 itself, and about 500 on the SPY. It's a little bit of a bad sign that markets are a little bit on the weak side, right? And could be vulnerable to anything that does ultimately play out. Now, again, AMC stock on a technical basis, it looks like the stock is really bottoming out at this moment in time. Looks like you're trying to find a bottom. $4 per share flat. It seems like a lot of support, but we won't know if this thing is going to hold because we don't know what's coming next for the markets. If Adam Aron is going to dilute shareholders, those are really going to be the reasons or factors that either confirm this is the low, or if potentially, we're going to fall even lower. So that'll be important. Also, the RSI, like I previously mentioned, has been oversold since the beginning of 2024. So that is also an issue. The MACD has also went positive, which in the short term, pretty interesting, but I can't really make too much sense of that. Nonetheless, guys, AMC's I'm not expecting much until we actually do get a commitment to not diluting shareholders. So hit that like button as well as subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think about this information down below in the comment section. That is pretty much everything you need to know. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.